Hi there. I am so happy you chose to worship God with us here at the Cloverdale Seventh day Adventist Church. I invite you to allow the presence of God to fill you up. Also, if you are desiring to support the cause of Christ through your kind generosity, or maybe you have some questions, please feel free to visit our website at cloverdale.org.
Good morning, Cloverdale. I bring you greetings from Malawi, Africa. They would say, Mulibwanj, and you would say, Imdilibwino, Ikaino. Now, I am a little bit nervous because I have practiced this. I've been trying to be very conscientious about the time that this takes, because I'm trying to cover 4 years of service there in Africa. And now the clicker doesn't work. So my friend here is going to put a slide on for me. We're going to start. Okay. And you can do these 3 kind of quickly. But Malawi, Africa, whoever thought? I never did. But before I tell you what God has been doing in my life, I have some really good news to tell you about what God has done for your life. You may know it and you may not, but you should. And so go ahead and bring me up the first slide. Matthew 7:22 says, "Many will say to me on that day." Now, what day is that? That's the day that he separates the sheep from the goats. "Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name drive out demons and perform many miracles? Then I'll tell them plainly, I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers." Now, are these people good people or bad people? Are they doing good things or bad things? Actually, they're things I'd love to be able to do, wouldn't you? So if God didn't want these good people doing these good things, what did he want? Back to the verse. "Then I'll tell them plainly, I never knew you. I never knew you. I never knew you." Is that what he wants? He wants to know us. Now this is life eternal, that they may know you. Oh, this is a two-way street. He wants to know me, but he wants me to know him. This is what a relationship is about, right? This is life eternal, to know Jesus. So can we conclude from these 2 verses that we can be doing all the right things, we can be doing extraordinarily good things and still not know Jesus? We can, can't we? John 10, "I have come that they may have life and have it to the full." What did they have before he came? They had death. This is what he was trying to get across to Nicodemus. You must be born again because there's something bad wrong with your first birth. All of us spiritually have been stillborn since Eden. Eyes that don't see, ears that don't hear, and hearts that don't understand. Because spiritual things are only understood spiritually. So that's what we get when we have the new birth, but we don't have it before. So now can we conclude from this verse that we can be doing all the right things, we can be doing extraordinarily good things and still be among the walking dead? And people may not even know, because only God looks at the heart. Satan doesn't care whether you do good things or bad things. He's perfectly happy for you to be a perfect liver, as long as you don't know Jesus. If you don't, he knows he's won his cause with you. Now here's the good news I promised you. Truly I say to you, whoever hears my word. What's his word? How do you hear it? by studying to find Jesus. Not for your class, not for a discussion. Studying to find Jesus. And believes him who sent me. There's the trust. There's the give and take relationship that makes this work. That person has eternal life. Oh, shouldn't it say, will have eternal life? It doesn't. And will not come into judgment? Now, wait a minute, that's pushing it too far. We know we're going to come into judgment. Well, let's take a scenario. It's Judgment Day, and it's my turn. So my name starts with a V. That means maybe Jerry and Phyllis are the only ones after me. Becky Vermilyea. I guess I covered it up. But it's silent because I'm not there. But Jesus steps forward and he says, I know Becky. She's my good friend. And I told her she didn't have to be here today because I'm standing in for her. So please open her book and read me the first 3 sins you see there. Well, it's silent again because all you hear is the angel flipping pages. Finally, he says, what sins? It looks here as if Becky never sinned. And Jesus smiles and said, I know. She gave those to me, and I threw them in the bottom of the sea, just like I promised. Friend, that's the assurance that you can have of salvation right now. That's when we have crossed from death into life, the way we were born to the way we can be when our new birth in Jesus Christ. If you don't have that relationship, that assurance of salvation, there's one of 2 reasons. Either you don't have that give and take relationship with Jesus and love hanging out with him, or you've got a misconception of the judgment and you think it's about you. Revelation 14 tells us it's the hour of his judgment. Where does that leave us? He tells us that. Ye are my witnesses. We're the witnesses in the courtroom with our pages that are free of sin. We're witnesses for him down here as our life shows that we have the grace and power and love of Jesus that has. What a powerful testimony to us and to the whole universe. If you don't have that assurance, I invite you to turn your eyes on Jesus and look full in his wonderful face. That is eternal life, and that's life and death. It really is life and death for us. Nothing is more important than that. Now, the way I got started into this new relationship with Jesus, in 2017, I hit a hard patch in my life, and I just couldn't seem to dig my way out of it. Finally, one day, I just took the Bible and I said, Lord, I need to find you again. And the only place I know to look is right here. But let's do it differently this time. Can it be just you and me? Can we just spend this time just you and me and help me to set aside everything I ever thought I knew about the Bible, been taught, heard, read, set it all aside, and you just tell me what you meant when you inspired that and what you mean for me today. And I started in Genesis 1 with that prayer every day. And before long, that Bible just came alive. I thought it had had the new birth. But the new birth was happening in me yet again, because we need to do it every day, don't we? Okay. Well, the Bible came alive. There were new thoughts that were coming into my mind. There was context to these verses I'd always heard. Who knew? And the marginal readings just sent you all over the Bible, bringing things together. The translators had notes. I mean, it was fun. I had to watch the time. It's been such a great journey that as of my reporting today, I am in Timothy, third time through my Bible, studying it just like that, taking it no faster than I wanted to, third time through, and every time gets better. I find new things to underline and circle and pages, marginal writings that I have done, lines that I'll draw to another verse. It's a mess, but to me it's beautiful. And I hope I never lose this Bible because it's my best friend. No, Jesus is. So during this time, I got an unexpected phone call from these people on the screen, the Pittmans. She's Vice Chancellor of Malawi Adventist University in Malawi, Africa. It has 2 campuses, Malamulo and Lakeview. And she said, I am so covered up with projects that I can't do. Could you come and help me? Whoa, here was a Macedonian call. But there was a problem. I had done a lot of international travel, and the place on earth I never had any interest in going to was the continent of Africa. Does God have a sense of humor? Oh yeah, he does. Sometimes pretty twisted. But I figured that the National Geographic could show me every hippopotami, all the rhinoceri, all of the dirty little villages and the malnourished children that I ever needed to see. Thank you. So it's like, Lord, Africa? Oh, well, what would you think about Austria? Or how about Switzerland? But the call was to Africa. And before very long, I found myself in a beautiful country, in a continent that had more variety, better weather year-round, treasures that I never knew existed because I had closed my mind to that. And the people. It didn't take me long to fall in love with these people who are tough. They're resilient, they're friendly, they're happy. They love to sing and dance, and I'm sure this grandma did her share of that in her time. But you just love these people, and I think they're beautiful. Those pure bloodlines have just created a handsome race. And they learn to work at a very early age. They know no different, they expect no different. It's a simple life, but it's a difficult life. But they are happy and content, and that is something we can really learn from them. And you can see the happiness flowing out of these little faces, these spunky little people ready to laugh and play, and they've made a new friend, and we're all happy about that. I just must say a word about the markets. If you could see this, it goes as far any direction as you want to look. Every color of the rainbow, but unfortunately, they don't eat much of it. They stick with their cheap food and sell the beautiful food. So it's white, devitalized cornmeal mush called nsima. I call it belly packing. And just a little bit of something they call relish, which is any kind of vegetable, but usually greens or tomato or pumpkin. All squashes are pumpkins to them. But all of this beautiful produce was picked this morning. Sorry, Albertsons. And if your palate is craving termites, well, these were caught last night. They took the legs off for you and roasted them. They're ready to go. I've heard they're very tasty, but I certainly took someone else's word for that. Now, this is a very normal sight all over Africa, except that the older sister is usually about half that size, and you just wonder how she can carry this little sibling around on her back. But one reason I put this in is that I wanted you to see my prize photo. So a trip to the market for these people is a trip to Malawi. Go ahead and change. to Malamulo Mission and Hospital, which is the medical campus of this university. Now, if you have been an Adventist long enough to remember mission stories, you know Malamulo. That featured it in all of them. And so we're just showing you some pictures quickly. Here is a clinic that they were having that day. And of course, not too fast. I think when I'm talking with my hands, which I must, he thinks I'm waving him on. This is the church. But do you think you can fit 1,000 students plus staff in there? That's what they have to do on Sabbath. This slide shows a worship, but it's full, as you can tell. Now, these people need a church. You've been hearing about us remodeling ours. These people need a place for about at least 1,100 people every Sabbath. Here's the waiting room for the hospital. I just thought you might like to see it. And we're on our way back to the Lakeview campus now, where I spent most of my time. And this picture shows you how Malawians just hate to make 2 trips if they can get it in one. But the poor truck, you can tell it has suffered under that abuse. When it goes up that hill that you see, it will complain with a huge cloud of black smoke where you can hardly breathe. And it shares that in common with every truck in Africa. They all need ring jobs. So now we're back to the Lakeview campus, where they teach them to teach and preach and cipher and grow things. And this is the campus from a distance, just part of it. The next one shows you the original school buildings. The wings of the classrooms go off to the sides much farther than you can see, and that was their original church. But you can see that it will not hold 600 students now. So where do they meet? In their multi-purpose building, which is cafeteria 3 times a day. It's church, it's assembly, it's worship, it's anything where they all need to get together. And somebody's full-time job is to move those tables and chairs, stack them along the walls, and get ready for the next occasion. Now, I told you about the Nsima belly packing. Here they are making it in one of the 5 wood-fired cookers at the kitchen there at the campus. The other campus works the exact same way. Next. Okay, so one of the jobs they gave me was to improve the variety of things that they served at the cafeteria. Well, I had lots of ideas until I realized they had no ovens. Well, you know, they don't know Spanish rice and cornbread and so many things that they have all the ingredients for. Never thought to use them that way, but they don't have an oven. How am I going to do all my ideas? Well, I wasn't that year. So back to that other one. I'm making a big pot of lentil stew here, and thankfully everything we tried on the students, they loved it. But they're not used to soups, because if they can't eat it with their hands, they just don't eat it. And so soup is a new thing for them. Go ahead. Here these women are peeling potatoes for chips, they call it, French fries, for 350 students that day. The local chitinji, which I couldn't keep up, and of course you have to climb the local mountains. And this one was tough, let me tell you. It was a scramble. But this one I have done so many times that they've nicknamed it after me now. This is the Vice Chancellor's house with 6 bedrooms, and they're full almost all the time with students or guests. It's Grand Central Station. Now we're back at the cafeteria, and we're making new dishes with their wonderful crew there. Now, in between the first and second winters that I was there, I was able to go to Zambia and find a man that knew how to make these wood-fired ovens. Oh, praise the Lord. And so when I came back the next year, he came up from Zambia, and here it is half made. You can see it has 3 racks in it, and here is the finished product, which I think turned out quite handsome. What do you think? And here's the way it's fired. They know how to regulate that kind of fire. And here's the first food that came out of it, because the oven got done just in time for our first cooking class, which is another one of the main projects that they had me come over for, and had for several years. Here we're making 350 rolls for the students that day, and you can almost smell them there coming out of the oven, can't you? So speaking of cooking classes, this was a group of pastors' wives and conference officers' wives that we were having a cooking class for a week long. And plant-based dietary has been resisted for decades in Malawi. And just recently have they gotten interested in it. And they're delighted to learn the health benefits, the economic benefits, and how tasty the food can be. And so here they are graduating from that class. They're so happy to have their certificates, and they're determined to go back to their villages and to their churches and hold cooking classes of their own and share this good way of life. Now that brings me to this year and farm stew. You've heard of farm stew a few times now. And so when I got back here in April, the very next day after I got back here was Joy Kaufman doing a Zoom presentation for you that day for church, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It's like, I was just there, just 2 days ago. So here's our Malawi team, the main ones of the team we put together, and after spending 3 months working on getting the foundations laid for farm stew in Malawi, which is the 5th country for farm stew to enter, then they sent us to Uganda. If you want to know how to do farm stew, you go to Uganda, because this is where it started. The gentleman on the right is Edward. He's a wonderful leader, a spiritual man, just talented in every way. The other 4 in green are the trainers. Now, Farm Stew has a very organized program, very definite things that they are there to accomplish. Each of these trainers has 4 villages that they go to every week for a year. Training, cooking, building, everything that they're teaching Farm Stew to these villages, they do that every week for a year. Then the second year, they're there once a month. And then it officially closes that particular session. So they had prepared a wonderful week for us to go out to the villages with the trainers and actually be part of their presentations and their classes. So of course, Farm Stew is an acronym for all the things that they're doing in those countries. And farming being the F in farm, you can see the beautiful produce that's being produced here. Well, now this is dry season. You have to remember that it's always been feast or famine, because it's wet season or dry season. You eat when there's food, and you starve, really, literally, go hungry. And, you know, they don't know how to plan ahead. They never have in third world countries. And so they can't seem to help themselves to set enough aside for winter, because they can sell it, and they need that money so badly. And so it's starvation. Well, here, Farm Stew teaches them where to have food year-round, because with the heavy mulching, the composting, things grow, and they continue to grow through the dry season, and they have food to sell. Now, there's the E in stew, enterprise. So they have more money because they have more food. They have better nutrition because of that as well. They grow more things, and they also teach them how to prepare them. So here's a demonstration bed that they had. They had composted half of this bed and heavily mulched it. The other end, no compost, light mulch, but they planted the same plants the same day, and look at the difference. Then we took a 2-mile walk down through the villages that were involved in Farm Stew, and they were so proud to show us these wonderful things they're growing in the dry season, and look how nicely they have them laid out, and they're so proud of it. Interesting, though, the people that walk through from other villages, they don't have food growing in their villages. They stop and say, what are you guys doing? What's this all about? So before Farm Stew even gets to that village, those people are already doing their thing here, like this village. So it's spreading, and people's lives are being made so much easier and so much better. Here is a class that they're having that day on mulching, and they're learning the theory to go along with the practice. Go ahead. Now, some of these villages haven't been part of Farm Stew all that long, and so the signs of malnutrition are still evident in some places. Little black girls should not have orange or brown hair that looks like straw. That's malnutrition. They should not have little pot bellies. Look at the skinny little arms. He's not fat. That's malnutrition. And poverty, those signs disappear because these people have more money on the Farm Stew program. But here you can see poverty shows up just everywhere. Now, I told you about nsima, that is the staple food of Malawi. This is the staple food of Uganda. It's called mataki, and it's green bananas cooked and mashed. At least it's a whole food, right? It's better. They've served it with beans here, which is not too bad, but Farm Stew teaches them to have so much more variety and nutrition and color. So here we are at a cooking class in one of the villages. And this is a jackfruit tree. Maybe you know jackfruit. It makes a good meat substitute. And when you break it open, it looks like this. It's very sweet, has a nice texture, but when you cook it, that sweetness goes out. So here we are. The class is interactive, and we have about 60 participants that day with the people we fed plus the children. Here they are during the lecture. And here they're showing them to eat the rainbow, as they say it. Add color. Look for the color. Find ways you can add different things together to give you more nutrition and color. So protein is a real issue over there. They have animals. But if they kill them and eat them, they have killed the golden goose. They can have babies, they can sell those, and ways to get a little money is so important to them. So they just don't have much protein. Well, but they know soy, and they feed it to their animals, and it's cheap, and they can grow it. And so here we've soaked soybeans the night before, and someone is pounding them into a mash, since they don't have a blender, and then it's mixed with water, strained. That milk is heated and either flavored for milk or coagulated to make tofu. Here's what we served to them that day. At the top, it's rice with the rainbow and tofu chunks. To the left is jackfruit with a couple of vegetables, and it's savory when you add salt and the sweetness has gone out. And then what looks like black is actually greens that has soybeans added to it. So it's heavy on the soy that day because they're showing them all the ways that you can add it to your diet. Here is why Farm Stew exists. These precious little people, 50% of them will not make it to their 5th birthday because of disease, malnutrition, bad water, lack of sanitation. And people have lots of children because they know they're going to lose about half of them It's just pitiful. And so every little life is important to Jesus. These twin ladies were our helpers that day at the cooking class, and they had little ones that almost looked like twins as well. Now, another day, another class. You know, the S in stew is for sanitation. They teach them to clean everything up, to build a pit toilet for each house, and to build a tippy tap. Now, go to the jungle and get 6 poles. You have 5 nails, 2 pieces of string, and a jug, and 20 minutes, and you have a tippy tap. And here's the way it works. This little girl steps on this little foot pedal, which is attached to a string, which is attached to the jug. It tips it, and she gets water out on her hands. The guy with the water bottle behind, they are going to cut it down and put soap in it and hang it on the tippy tap. At the end of each class, they have prepared a thank you and a goodbye song and dance. They love to sing and dance, and I think it was just in their DNA. They're so good at it. And here's Grandma. She's entering right into the festivities. This man wanted to meet me. He's the head man of that village, and we have an adoring set of fans in the background there. Now, my favorite class I want to share with you. You know, in third world countries, they've never had enough that they felt like they knew how to plan ahead. They don't plan ahead about anything. And so now they're getting more money. Learning how to manage it is very important. So they create a savings and loan. It works just like a credit union in every community. They choose their own treasurer. Here she is. Everybody has a passbook. Everybody has a little fee that they bring, and it goes into a benevolent fund. And together, they decide how to spend that. Who needs a little help right now? They hold each other accountable. They all know each other and probably are related to each other. And at the beginning of the year, they all set their goals. Here's what we're saving for. Here's what we need a loan for. And everybody has to vote on whether they get it or not. And every week, they have this meeting. They bring their little fee for the benevolent fund. They bring their payment on their loan or to their savings. And it all goes in the book. When there gets to be too much money in that box, it goes to the local bank. So it really is a savings and loan credit union. Now, off to the side, in every one of these classes, here's what you have. You see them, but you don't hear them. And nobody is standing there making them be good, not run around and disrupt. They are just there and interested in and watching and listening and not causing problems. So Farm Stew may be teaching them a lot of things. Even from birth, their little children are amazing. And I think they could teach us quite a bit about child rearing sometimes. Here's how much money came into the little benevolent fund that day. And to me, this is just one of the main benefits, rewards of Farm Stew. The appreciation on their faces. These people have life better than they've ever had it before. They have more things. They have more food. They have more money. Actually, Farm Stew elevates women. They teach family planning. They teach family dynamics of the woman and the man working together on decisions. It elevates women to a place they've never been in that society before. So it's happy families. It's healthy children and older. Everybody's healthier, and they're happy, and they can't believe their good fortune that somehow Farm Stew came to them. So at the end of 2 years, which is the official close of their program, if they've been a successful Farm Stew community and get certified, they get a well. Now, that doesn't sound like too much to you, but to them it is absolutely unbelievable to have a well in your village, because they've been hauling these jugs 1 to 3 miles every day to bring water to their households. Now they have a well in their community. Costs about $5,000, and those are bought with donor money. So our time in the villages was so special, but it came to an end so soon. Here we are with the trainers at their branch Sabbath school. Where do the children meet? Because this is a rented building in between the buildings. But look, they're dressed in their Sabbath best, their hair is all fixed, they're sitting down listening to their stories, and they are singing their songs, and they're happy to be in Sabbath school. So all of this is very fresh in my mind when I hit the United States again, and the next day am at Cloverdale. And I'm looking at all of you and thinking, do they have a clue? Do they know how other people worship and live in so much of the world? You know, there's nothing special about you or me. We didn't choose to be born here. We could have been this little boy on the left down here, or one of those in the center. We could have died before we reached our 5th birthday. We could have been poverty-stricken with our clothes hanging off of us. There's nothing special about us. They are humans just like us. But here's the difference. From the one who has been entrusted with much, much more will be asked. You know who that's talking about? That's talking about every one of us. Now back to the story of the sheep and the goats where we started. We'd already heard from the people on the left. They didn't think they deserved to be there. What about the people on the right? How did Jesus decide who got there? Well, we already know it's not how many good things that they had done, miracles they'd performed. Maybe, Jason, it was how well they kept the Sabbath. Let's try the next slide. He tells us, I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. That's what Farm Stew's doing. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. There's the Farm Stew well. I needed clothes and you clothed me. There's the Farm Stew enterprise and money management. Whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers of mine, you did it for me. But the people on the right didn't even know they were doing it for Jesus. But they did it because they knew him and had become like him and did these good works automatically. Now, if you've seen some areas where you think maybe you could be a blessing, then here's a couple of websites that you can go to. You know, we talked about Uganda needing a church, both of the campuses needing a church. Not just remodeling, but actually need the original church. Farm Stew, all of those full-time people, they take salaries. You would never look at it and know that that was a salary. That figure would not compute with you. To them, it's wonderful. They're happy for it. It takes motorcycles, transportation to get to these villages. It takes $5,000 for a well. Now back to Malawi Adventist University, not only the 2 churches, but just let me give you just a tiny word about their students. 1,600 are enrolled in the 2 campuses, but they turn away scores of young people every year. College is expensive, right? If you've ever had a kid in college, you know college is expensive. It is over there too. But let me tell you what expensive in Malawi is. It's $2,500 for a whole year. That puts it in a different light, doesn't it? I somehow suspect that there are some $2,500 bills hiding out in your account that if they slipped over to edunitetoserve.com, Worthy Fund, you'd never know they were gone. but it would make a lifetime of difference for some beautiful, talented, dedicated young person that can't come up with those funds. So, in closing, like we always do in our Sabbath school class, my 3 points. Satan doesn't care what you do as long as you don't make Jesus your best friend. He knows his purpose for you has been fulfilled. Jesus knows that if he can persuade you to open the door to your heart and let him in, then his purpose is fulfilled for you, because you've given it to him, and now it's his responsibility. And he wants that responsibility. And then the third thing is, this is a life and death matter. And once we enter into that relationship with Jesus, our eternity is sure. He promises that we have it now, and we will be his witnesses in our lives and in the judgment. So as Tony and Kim come forward to help with the closing song, can you put those words back up there? What? Yes. Oh, it's on there? Oh, I didn't have them. Oh, okay. You may not know this song, and so we're just going to do the chorus twice. It has the words that I want to just stick and ring in your mind for the rest of your life. But this is my prayer, and I think it's yours too. Dear Lord, this is our desire and our choice today. Help us to just realize that if we don't love hanging out with you here and now, we would hate an eternity with you where it's all about you. Lord, help it to be our lives to be all about you right now. We want to answer that knock on our heart's door today. Make us a blessing to others. In Jesus' name, amen.
I hope you were blessed by today's message. If you have any questions or would like someone to pray with you or for you, please feel free to contact us. May God bless you and keep you till we meet again.